If you ask me, I would say 2.4 million. For me, it's on the low side. I believe.
You believe it's too low?
That the population is more than that. Now, coming to the census, what I'm going to say, GBoS might not like it. But I say, I believe they could have done better. Yeah, taking into account it's a system you are introducing for the first time, digitalizing it.
Yes.
I think time was not enough. I've interacted with a lot of field workers, enumerators out there, and I've seen the challenges that they have put forward. And this is from the recruiting and training on the onset. I've seen a lot of people who registered online. Yeah, they were not opportune to be accepted. It was electronic.
What do they? Go do that again.
More competent people whose background were IT and they applied and put their documents, but they were not selected. Yeah.
To be remunerators or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
These are people, some of them I know. One is a friend of mine. He used to be a lecturer at Journal of Tutors. He's very young and has all the potentials and capacity. I applied online. He was not lucky to be selected. But I've seen people being accepted who don't even know how to use
a complicated.
So that's the registration process I'm talking about. We could have done better if you bring in the right people to handle it. That's number one. Number two, you invite them for training. Training into which you did not give them a proper orientation. Now, in the midst of training, few days after that, GBoS officials came and told them that 10% will be deducted from their fee.
Yes, that's what they said.
That's not ethical. You should have told them before they start. I am not saying that they should not pay tax. Of course they should pay tax, but make it known to them in the beginning. That 10% will be deducted. If you agree, you go ahead. If not, you drop. And there are thousands of others who applied and were not selected. So for me, in essence, that's where they should have begun with the orientation. Let people know what is involved. Because that created a chaos. Until in the Basse area, they said they are not going to continue with the training. There was a standstill, a halt to it, which for me administratively was improper. You've not started the census, and the field workers, the enumerators started getting angry and raising concerns. Will they do the work wholeheartedly? No, and I will come to that. Now comes the training. People you train, it comes for you to dispatch them. They were not called to go and serve. And they brought in people who were not trained during the census.
To replace them?
Yes. To be out there so that they will benefit from the financial. Be it a friend, a relative, family member, this has happened. And you engage those who were trained and those who were in the field, they will tell you this. I did my work. I'm very connected, with the people. And another challenge what happened is these copies they give them was from Senegal. And they told them that any damage, you're not going to pay money. They want to see the charger, the copy, everything intact because it does not belong to us.
You mean the equipment, the laptop?
Yes, they call it copy. It's where you enter all the data and the like. And it's like it has a tracker, people being monitored. There's a tracker with these copies. Now, the tracker alone is not enough that people did the work. Coming into account, I see those who cover their area, they called them later to go and cover other areas because there were a lot of errors.
Yeah, well, errors or delays. I had
some they did deliberately. They just go to compounds and enter figures that they like without engaging the people. And it's when the people went back there, that's when they detected all these errors. Like for instance, you go to a compound and say, there are 6 people here. And they felt there was an error. I went back and they told me there were 8 or there were only 5. Which means some of the figures, the data was not accurate. And there are areas that they did not reach to. That's why when you ask about whether we've met people who are not counted, I said yes.
Yeah,
a lot of people who said nobody came to me and I was not counted.
I saw some.
How was it done? There were some with their copies, they just went to this booth, sat there, drink at a chat, and later they entered any figures they like and they submitted that. Did they have enough time to check all this? If you ask me why I said GBoS will not like what I said, when you train people, it's the first time you are going digital, you should have allowed them to do some practicals before census proper should start. Because during the census, some even came to detect that some of these copies had problems. Now, if you had them back on a practical, give them a few days to go around and practice what you taught them and what they've learned, you'll be able to detect some of these mistakes and you rectify them before the census proper. That's why I talked about the time frame here and the type of people trained and their backgrounds and capacity that they have to run this. And they said for the first time, teachers were dropped for whatever reason, best known to GBoS. But
they said it would clash with their work.
Well, it depends whether somebody will be willing to do the job or not. Not all teachers are on the same line. me being a teacher, him being a teacher, our schools and what we do, it's not the same. It is different. The time he might have, I might not have the same time. But teachers in general saying dropping everybody, I don't think that that was a very wise choice to do. And like if you bring in fresh start, those who never engage in Census, whether they've been doing it before, but this time it was digital. Train people, allow them to implement the practical, you'll detect some of the mistakes you have and that rectify it before the census proper. It will help you to adjust. These are some of the things I said. I believe in the next census, they might learn from this and they will do it better. But the way it was handled this time, for me, it was prompt. And some of them did not even cover the areas that were given to them correctly. Because you dispatch people and you allow me alone to do it. Who's going to supervise? Who is going to monitor the issues?
They didn't have supervisors.
The supervisors were not working with them foot to foot. Some of them went alone. I know people, I called them, he said, I'm at this compound. They covered it alone. Now, if I decided to sit at that booth and drink attire, who's going to detect that? It's a tracker. 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. The tracker sees me moving. But the data that I input, I can decide or choose whatever I want to have.
So you think this all might have affected the outcome?
Of course.